I remember as an up and coming professional walking into my first big meeting, suit and tie, all my superiors are there, really directors and above, vice presidents, senior vice presidents, even the CIO was there. And I was really excited, really inspired because I always knew I wanted to be at that table. I wanted to sit there. I wanted to be heard. I wanted to make an impression. And I wanted to make an impact. And right before I walked into that meeting, one of my mentors kind of put his hand on my chest before I walked into the door. And he looked at me and said, "Patience, young grasshopper." Now, in that moment, when he did that and I absorbed that and I processed that, I was almost to the point of full vexation, irate, and pretty much volatile because I ain't no grasshopper. And clearly, I had exuded enough patience to this point to make it into that room, and I didn't even have a title. However, there's also a youthful ignorance that is associated with that, the reality to the exposure levels that come with the growth as you are being patient to find your space, your way, and your lane in life. And so that's what I want to discuss today, the idea and concept around patience, and that it is an emotional process that you must learn to dominate and find contentment around in order to achieve whatever it is you want to achieve and whatever you're looking to achieve in your life. And now, as I process the word and the emotion and where I want to drive this conversation, I find comfort in words and literal language. So I have the definition in front of me of what patience means. And patience means the ability to wait or to continue doing something despite difficulties or to suffer without complaining or becoming annoyed. And with that as a backdrop, I believe that the language is powerful in that it gives us a guide towards how we can apply patience. But there's some language in there too that immediately makes me start to complain and become annoyed because the concept of patience will do that to you. And so, a lot of what you'll find in this space, self improvement, self love, the self evolution to whatever type of dominance you're seeking in your life, is built around some trigger language like, you can't make it through this video. You don't even have the attention span to have the patience to not scroll all day. You don't have the discipline or the focus or the patience to be who you want to be in every phase of your life. And we talk about this regularly on the Do You rules. You're not patient enough for physical success. You're not patient enough for spiritual success. You're not patient enough for relational success. You're not patient enough to have the expressive desire of success be fully met in every phase of your world because you just don't have it in you. You lack patience. You're weak. Now, there's truth to that. I think we have to align and appreciate that because of the way that society is built today, it's a very fast paced culture. It's a very in your face culture. The exposure to levels of success that stimulate us regularly are more available than they have ever been. I think that there's a realness and truth to that that we have to be able to process in this kind of hurry up and wait society. We see success that we could only dream of visually in real life materially in ways we thought we could only imagine. And that is a trigger. That is also a stimulant. And that makes it very difficult to practice patience because if you're constantly watching and you're constantly indulging in visual stimulus of success, if you're constantly being told materially, socially, relationally, that these are the areas that define success, and you take a look and everything's moving so fast and you're still in the same space, well, then it's difficult. You become very impatient. And there's a lot of logic around just the psychology, the emotional ties, and the reality of just performing as a human under these circumstances. So there's a truth to that. Fine, all well and good. You're not going to get what you're looking for today, at least materially, And that's as objective as I can be. And if we can appreciate that that applies, then what is it that we should be patient for? How should we be patient? And how can it be effective for us in our worlds, in our lives, realistically, every day as just us? The truth to patience, if you look at what the word and the language starts with, the ability to wait or to continue doing something despite difficulties. Nothing worth it is ever given to you immediately. Anything fast and easy never truly usually sticks, and always, almost, maybe, definitely will go away as fast as it came. And nothing that is truly worth your time, energy, and effort and the feeling of success doesn't come without difficulty. Logically, how could you delineate? How could you feel like, oh, I've been successful if you didn't know that you had to wait or continue doing something despite the difficulties? All right, fine. If you consider that, then the first phase, as far as us becoming patient, is our ability to start to slow things down. And the only way to slow things down and become patient is to understand that there's something we're waiting for. And if you're in and up against this fast paced, me, high life, quick life exposure, and all you're doing is comparing and contrasting daily against that, what are you really waiting for? And so the reality to how you start to wait despite difficulties is to give yourself something to wait for. What are you trying to attain? What are you working towards? What aspects of your life do you feel like need work? What aspects of your life can you see that I am willing to have the ability to wait for it? Whether it's a physical journey, a spiritual journey, a financial journey, a professional journey, all the relational experiences of life, they offer you the possibilities to suffer despite difficulties in order to wait for an outcome. So the first step to patience is understanding what you are willing to wait for. And it has to be what you are willing to wait for because of what you want to wait for, not because of what someone tells you you should be waiting for in any one of the aspects of your life. And so now, if you can march towards an objective, a goal, a destination, then you can know I can continue doing this despite the difficulties. I'll run the race and I'll get there when I get there. Fine. If it's as simple as that, set a target, set an aim, go. We can easily all do that. Why don't we? It goes back to the emotional tie for me and the idea of patience and being able to exude patience and eventually wait, eventually to be able to overcome despite difficulties, to be able to suffer because you will complain, but know that you shouldn't complain, or you will be annoyed, but it's not really that you'll stay annoyed, is that you have to first learn to be patient with yourself. And the truth to that statement and the depth and the volatility associated, back to the comment I made with my mentor about patience, young grasshopper, is that when you don't have patience with yourself, for yourself, as yourself, emotionally, then you fall victim and you will be subjected constantly to the complaints, the annoyances, and the difficulties of others who will push back on you. And you won't have the patience to see that as just necessary obstacles, necessary difficulties, because those are also triggers into what you already know and feel about yourself, which is you can't be patient with yourself. You can't be patient with your own love, with your own, that's discipline. The self suffering, the self complaining, the self annoyance, when I can be patient through that for myself, then the annoyances that are outside of myself aren't really as annoying because ultimately it has nothing to do with me. I can't really put a handle on or control or dominate what is going on outside of me. There's going to be realities to other people's lack of patience, the fact that other people are waiting and continuing to do despite difficulties, the fact that other people are suffering without complaining and being annoyed while they're complaining and being annoyed, that I need to be patient with in order to solve all the mysteries of my life and proceed forward in the direction I need to go. So, the emotional aspect, aside from understanding you need to know what you're waiting for and go for it, because you have to know you're going somewhere. Otherwise, there's no logical rationale to overcoming, and there's really nothing to overcome. But self patience, practicing patience with yourself, knowing that you are being influenced regularly, relationally, through all aspects of life, that there's a defining of you associated with how others see, view, judge, critique, and ultimately behave with you. You got to be patient as you're making your turn and your flip on your life to becoming self patient, that they will eventually learn to become patient with you. And then the ability to wait and continue doing despite difficulties becomes that much easier because you are internalizing the emotional process of patience. And the more that you convey that internally, the more you'll exude it externally, the more that the surroundings of life will just start to become patient with you and start to open up the lanes you need to see as you're waiting and doing despite difficulties. We all complain, we all become annoyed. It's part of the process. But if you change your mind, you can change your life. Do you and stay rich.